Good morning, everybody. So, Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air at ABC. Um, However, the damage is done. The damage is done, you guys. There's a history of failure with Disney that has been, they're very cyclical in how they perform. And so, let's go through how this played out for them because one of the things that Walt Disney is known for is basically inventing modern day marketing by um, doing this cross promotion between cartoons, movies, the parks, the merchandise, everything else. Like, that's a whole case study that you can look up. And so, any company that has uh, a crisis can affect all of the other companies, everything, because of the way that Walt Disney set this up. He set it up for success, but they've had many CEOs and leaders that don't understand his business model. Um, and just so you know, not only am I a Southern California resident who has owned Disney passes um, for many years during my son's childhood after he became an adult and moved on with his life. I didn't really see the need for me to go over there by myself, right? But I would still go for actual events for the proposal work that I did. I mean, there was still like a purpose for me to actually show up to one of their hotels and spend money there. Well, times are changing. Probably not such a great idea to be so out of touch with the economy that they didn't realize that not only did they give all of these families, not just in America, but globally, a reason to cut back on a budget for overspending at Disney, where they price gouge their customer base to begin with, right? So now they're going to have to do a lot to actually repair the financial damage they've done to their conglomerate. Let's take a look at this.
The Disney and Hulu boycott is actually working. This is Disneyland, and as you can see, it's looking much more empty than it normally does.
Disney World is empty. The lines are really short.
Disney World is empty right now. Let me show you just how low the crowds are.
I went to Disneyland in California. Disney can't even pull people now. Disney was not crowded at all. It was the least crowded I've seen it since I was a child, and tickets were $20.
Yeah, oh yes, yes, girlfriend. That's right. She's probably a little closer to my age, and back in the 70s and 80s, their movie franchise was kind of tanking. They no longer had the magic of Walt Disney himself to produce the movies that he was doing and to have, his perfectionist touch on everything. So much of my youth, if you go in the off season, for example, my mom used to take me out of school nearly every year to go to Disneyland for my birthday. And it would always be a surprise. And yeah, silly me, I would be like, oh my gosh, you're not driving me to school. Where are you taking me? I should have known, obviously, because we did it so many times. And we did this for my brother too. But it was parks that you could get in and out, and it was quick, right? And then they had the resurgence of films that people wanted to watch. And that's why this is kind of a fragile ecosystem that they have going on. And the current leadership doesn't understand the true system of how Walt Disney actually set up this marketing loop, that why it worked and so on and so forth. They caught that magic for a little bit in the 90s, and then they started slumping again.
Say the happiest place on earth never goes quiet, but walk through the gates right now and you'll hear something shocking. Silence. Not the roar of roller coasters, not the buzz of kids begging for churros, just silence. Because Disney's...
Or as my son used to say, churros. My son spent kindergarten, half of his first kindergarten year at an LA school where most of his classmates were ESL, English as a second language. So he would say churros every time we went to Disneyland. But yeah, that's a reality. There's nothing there, right? This is the type of what the parks look like in the off season on weekdays back in like the 80s. This is what it looked like.
Boycott didn't stop at your living room streaming apps. It has marched straight into the Magic Kingdom itself, and it's emptying it out, one family vacation at a time.
Talking about a 30-minute wait for Tron, Space Mountain being a walk-on, It's a Small World, another walk-on, a 20-minute wait for Jungle Cruise, another 5-minute wait, a walk-on for the Teacups, virtually no line to be found at Seven Dwarfs Minecart, a 20-minute wait right here for Peter Pan. I mean, look at this board up here. See these People Mover cars? They can't even fully load them. Another ride where it's not even getting filled up. It's so empty here that characters are just wandering around Magic Kingdom for meat.
People have decided to stop supporting Disney and anything Disney related since the canceling of Jimmy Kimmel.
I've lived here my entire life. Haven't seen it like that in... I'm not going to tell you how old I am. Many years.
I mean, what's the point? If you're driving a 50...
We got off the tram.
Dude, I'm telling you, she's my age. She's definitely my age. She knows. She knows.
And we're in no time. The line to get through the ticket booth was like not even maybe 10 people deep. Nothing.
And just so you guys remember, like, this is a company that repurposed the People Mover track at Disneyland Anaheim into some sort of, it was called like Rocket something, I can't even remember. There was a 4-hour line to get on that ride. You had to spend half of your Disney day in line if you wanted to ride it. And by the way, I've ridden it. It sucked. They had to pull it because it kept breaking down. The quality of what they were delivering to us has been degrading for decades. And so the idea that after what they did with canceling Jimmy Kimmel's ability to have free speech, which is not totally rectified, by the way, and I'll get into that. Sure, he's back on air, but what about this Sinclair network? How come they're not airing him? And why is every single one of their newscasters reading the same script? That sounds a lot like government control. Like, what are they thinking of sending a script to all of the markets that they own to deliver news? That is amazing to me, you guys.
The sidewalks were not crowded. Rope drop, nobody cared. The first ride we got to in Star Wars Land, I'm pretty sure we were the first or second group of people on there. It took us longer to walk through the empty line. It was just dumb.
The mouse thought the parks were untouchable. Wow. For decades, they've been the beating heart of Disney's empire. Movies might flop, streaming services might wobble, but the theme parks, always reliable, always packed, always humming with cash flow. Until now. Because the boycott that started with Jimmy Kimmel has mutated into something bigger. A rejection of Disney's entire brand. The first cracks were subtle. Fewer hotel bookings, tour groups pulling out, families canceling months-long vacation plans, and $150,000 weddings at Disney. These weren't families that couldn't afford Disney. They didn't want their dollars feeding a company they saw as weak, cowardly, and hypocritical. And so, the heart of Disney, its parks, began to feel the squeeze.
If you want a picture?
Well, and here's the thing. It's not just about the richy riches that can afford a $150,000 wedding. It's about locals who are buying the annual pass that allows them to only go during the weekdays and stuff, right? Or maybe they get Sunday thrown in. I seem to remember that there was a pass that Sunday was thrown in, and so Sunday was like the worst possible day you could go to Disneyland. But they also made it a dual pass where, like, you couldn't just get a Disneyland pass. You had to also get California Adventure at the same time. And they did a lot of damage to that park too. I liked it when they first released it. It was supposed to be directed more towards a slightly older audience, not the little kids, but the junior high school, and adults. That was the first Disney park in California that sold wine and beer and stuff. I mean, other than Club 33, I could give you all kinds of lore, you guys. I have been a Disney fanatic my entire life. But, yeah, there's a point at which that you have to be like, hey, are you using your platform for good? Or are you not only bullying Jimmy Kimmel, but your consumers? And that's, you didn't solve that problem with your consumers. Maybe Jimmy reached an agreement that he's comfortable with, but what about your consumer base?
From the castle right now, there's not a soul. Yeah, and this is not just me zooming in. I mean, if you come to the park regularly, this is not a sight that you regularly see.
Breaking news. Disney is going to be raising their subscription prices. You heard me correctly. While they are being boycotted, they are raising their subscription prices monthly to around $2 or $3, and that starts October 21st. If you had not already canceled Disney Plus, Hulu, all that stuff, now is your reminder, because they're going to be raising prices. If you thought about going back because Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air, they're raising prices. Corporations just don't get it, do they? Like, why do they need to learn this?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we can watch him either through network television, depending on where you live, right? Or you can go to YouTube and catch all of his monologues, right? Because he has a channel on YouTube. Or you could purchase one of their products so that you get the extra content out of the states where he is still being blocked. Like, this problem has not been rectified, Disney execs. And you guys have made so many mistakes. Not maybe the current leadership, but leadership over time. The people that whoever the board of directors are keep selecting for CEOs of these companies, you guys are screwing up really badly. Do you remember when you pulled out the electric light parade, and replaced it with Light Magic? And Light Magic was such a disgusting parade that it was scaring kids, because you put these weird troll masks on the performers that danced around with your fiber optic lighting. And within the first week or two, you had to take the masks off so that kids didn't end up crying. I remember. Do you still have that parade? No. What did you do? You sold the individual light bulbs from the electric light parade as souvenirs. And then you brought the whole fucking thing back. You brought it back. You think we forget things like that? Those of us who have been loyalists to your brand throughout our entire lives, you think we don't remember when you shit on us as consumers? Come on now.
Hard lesson. Like, Disney, you're the next target. And I just want to talk to other corporations. Don't be the next target. He has one foot in the gates of hell. The Titanic is sinking. And if you don't see that, shame on you. Sinclair, you're not going to do well either. You're a publicly traded company. And
yeah, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't some boycotting and some protests against Sinclair for media consolidation and trying to get that deal through the FCC to basically monopolize the market. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Sinclair would have 80% of local news channels, you guys. Everybody should be fighting against that consolidation, because that's unacceptable. The only time that it is acceptable to have that type of market presence is if the company offers something that nobody else offers. But you are absolutely not supposed to do that if there's competition, if it's a competitive market. And that is the problem, is that Trump's administration and Trump himself are trying to make deals that are illegal. And while he's doing that, Russia sees weakness. They are smelling weakness and sending fighter planes to invade our airspace near Alaska. Oh, guess who wants their oil-rich state back?
we buy 90% of your stuff. So there you go.
All right, so I'm doing this video, and I don't know if I'm going to post this video or if this video is just for me, but I have to get this out.
This is exactly how a
Disney. Now, if you follow me on a regular basis, you know that I used to be a cast member. Nope. Here's my thing with Jimmy Kimmel and the cancellation. First of all, anybody that trusted Disney corporate, I don't know what you were thinking. I've got on here and I've talked about Walt Disney and the things he's done, good and bad. But corporate Disney is not affiliated with the Disney family in any way. Not at this point. And I'm not going to act like I know all the information about what's going on. I have not sat down myself and read through all the information. And I think it's trash that they bent the knee instead of just taking the attack. I feel like Disney would have had more ground to stand on if they'd have just take in the loss of their licensings. My thing is, a room of probably like 8 CEOs make stupid decisions like this, and not even CEOs for parks. That's a different area. CEOs for television broadcasting of ABC made some stupid choices, and now we're going to see mass layoffs in the parks. Because you know that's what they're going to do. They're going to cut the
Yes, that is absolutely true. And that's why I was contacting all of my labor leader friends over the weekend and why I was not producing content. Because as many of you may know, I spent several years doing political activism. And the reality is we're going to see mass layoffs. What do you need hotel staff for at this point, right? Which, by the way, Disney has a terrible history of fighting unions to begin with. If you ever want an interesting read, get Behind the Ears. It has a lot of background story on like how Disney's been operating and death stories and stuff, people dying on the rides and things.
bottom first, and then they're going to give themselves a little pat on the back for saving the company. And in the end of all of this, the lower cast members are going to be the ones that suffer. And honestly, there's no right or wrong answer. I wish somebody could tell us how to take all of our energy and put it towards something of this nature to get them to listen. And I'm really hoping the Disney Plus hit in their pocket will get ABC Broadcasting to listen. Because, again, Disney took the easy way out. But it's like living in a town with a rotten mayor, and now all the people of the town...
Yeah, they got in a lot of trouble just a few years ago because they were underpaying their staff so severely that the staff was living out of their cars and stuff. They were functionally homeless because they underpay their staff. I mean, they make billions upon billions upon billions of dollars for what they do, and they have very high expectations of their staff, their cast members, if you will. But they treat them so disrespectfully, and their excuse is, yeah, but once you have Disney on your resume, you can go anywhere, you guys.
Are going to suffer. And they're just going to move to a different town. Or stay in the same town and give themselves a raise. Yeah, I don't know. There is no defending Disney corporate for this choice. And I've seen people try and defend it already. It was cowardice. And because the cowardice of a small room of rich people we won't even know the names of, cast members across Disney parks are going to suffer. I don't know, Disney. I know you better make a statement. You better make it quick. Better start eating some crow. Bring around swords if you need to. Eat it. What?
It didn't take long for the cancellations to go global. In Canada, one of Disney's biggest tourist bases, travel agents reported a wave of dropouts. We're not going this year, families said. Not after what Disney pulled. And it spread.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Okay.
Further. In Europe, in Latin America, fans who once planned bucket list trips to Disneyland and Disney World decided they'd spend their money somewhere else. The most magical place on Earth suddenly looked expendable. Inside the parks, the mood is surreal. Cast members whisper about empty ride lines and empty walkways. Attractions once bursting with hour-long waits now feel like abandoned sets. Security staff say they're processing fewer guests per day than they have in decades. Even janitors have noticed. Fewer spilled sodas, fewer crumpled maps, fewer people. When the cleanup crew is clocking less work, you know attendance has tanked.
There was nobody. It was nutty.
Yeah.
I mean, it was frightening to see. By 10 o'clock, we had ridden 5 rides, messed around because we had a bunch of kids, and been to the bathroom like 3 times. Like, it was cuckoo bird. It just, I mean, Disney can't pull people.
Is adding chicken broth to
Pull.
Every time I see somebody screenshot that they've canceled Hulu or Disney, or this one woman canceled her whole wedding, which was like $130,000 at Disney. I just love it because I just don't think that these capitalist oligarchs realize that when they force everybody and all of us to have like subscriptions for every single thing, $30 here, 15, 20, you know, that we would cancel it. Even my Soho House membership. I canceled my Soho House membership. I used to be a Soho House stan when I lived in LA. But you don't have a family plan. So you have me and my husband paying $3,000 a year? Get out of here. No. For mediocre service, I'm out. I'm out. And I just don't think that people have reconciled at the top that people can choose what to do with their money, and they will leave you, especially when this economy is not stable for the rest of us.
Just heard that Disney is going to be reinstating the Jimmy Kimmel Show, so I figured I'd share a little story about Disney. This is my grandpa's Disney villain origin story. My grandpa has worked with various MLB teams in different positions. One of the teams he worked with was the Anaheim Angels. At some point, Disney and the Anaheim Angels had done some business together, and as a thank you for the outstanding work that my grandpa did with Disney, Disney gave my grandpa a lifetime pass to the Disney parks. This was before...
Yeah, this is absolutely accurate. They were supposed to be doing a lot of stuff to improve the entire city, which, by the way, if you look into the local politics of the Anaheim City Council, ooh, snap. Disney was supposed to build a monorail that would go from the parks directly to Angel Stadium. And I don't know whatever happened to that deal, but it was supposed to happen. It did not happen. They were very generous. They also, when they built the ice rink, they were the sponsor there as well. That's why they have the Mighty Ducks at the ice rink, right? Then Angel Stadium ended up getting a different corporate sponsor, and we went from calling it the Big A to the Big Ed because it was Edison. I can't. I have so much background on fucking Disney, and it's just crazy to watch. By the way, Walt Disney, his original cartoon studios were in Atwater Village, Los Angeles, right? And he used to eat quite a bit at local restaurants, one of them being the Tam O'Shanter, which is a prime rib joint. It's so good, you guys. If you're ever in LA, you should check it out, the Tam O'Shanter.
Or Disney had bought the Anaheim Angels. I have this recollection that he tries to go into the Disney parks and his lifetime pass doesn't work, and they're like, "Sir, this pass is expired." And he's like, "Well, it's a lifetime pass." And they're like, "It doesn't work." And he's like, "I'm still alive." Grandpa said at some point Disney sends out a letter in the early 2000s and says that they're revoking his lifetime pass and a chunk of other lifetime passes that they divvied out to people because they were having money troubles and they couldn't afford to have those lifetime.
What kind of money troubles? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you for real? They were selling all of their corporate memberships to Club 33, which I got to take advantage of based on the companies that I worked for, where we got to go to Club 33. It's a secret restaurant in Disneyland that is on the 33rd parallel. I can't, you guys. I don't want to go too deep into my Disney knowledge, but it's lovely restaurant. They have a great menu, and if you get put on the list from, you know, like your company having a corporate membership or something, you can sign up for like lunch rather than dinner because that's a little less expensive. Spend about $85 to $90 on your lunch, and in the process, you get access to both parks, Disneyland and California Adventure, hella cheaper than actually buying tickets. I'm just saying.
passes, which I just think is like a really awful thing to do. My grandpa does not have a single good thing to say about Disney. And he shouldn't, really. He shouldn't.
And let's talk about the optics. Disney has spent nearly a century selling the image of packed parades, fireworks over castles, kids' faces lighting up in wonder. That image is their cultural backbone. But now, guests are posting TikToks of deserted parks. Instagram.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing, the fireworks stuff. Local residents of Anaheim had to complain and complain and complain, and I don't think they ever won or got it resolved, that the ashes, the residue of that fireworks display they do every fucking night over the castle, all of the debris from that would fall into a local neighborhood that is right next to Disneyland. Yep.
Photos of empty roller coaster seats, tweets mocking the fastest fast pass ever because there's literally nobody else in line. The boycott isn't just hurting Disney's bottom line, it's rewriting the cultural narrative. Because here's the cultural truth. Disney isn't just a company. For most of the 20th century, Disney was childhood. It was family. It was America's shared mythology, exported to the world. When you visited Disney World, you weren't just buying tickets. You were buying into a legacy.
Hi, it's Nicole from...
Story about courage, imagination, and togetherness. But when the public sees cowardice, betrayal, and corporate spinelessness, that story collapses. And without the story, the rides are just rides. The parks are just real estate. The magic dies, and the damage doesn't stay in Orlando or Anaheim. Wall Street is rattled. Shareholders once believed Disney parks were recession-proof, but nothing is boycott-proof. Every empty seat on Space Mountain is a reminder that loyalty is fragile. Every unsold Mickey bar is a signal that the brand itself is losing cultural currency. The parks, once a fortress, are now the most visible symbol of the revolt.
So I read somewhere that Jimmy Kimmel is getting his TV show back. So y'all reconnecting with Hulu? Y'all finished boycotting or nah? I have no plans on resubscribing to Hulu or replanning my Disney trip because I need them to feel it. And I think this was one of them, okay. We're going to shut y'all up and get it over with. No, I think a bigger message needs to be sent.
Well, and that's pretty fucking obnoxious that they intend to raise rates at the end of the month after they fucked up. We're supposed to pay for their fuck up? Okay.
And I think it's bigger than Jimmy Kimmel. I personally might have seen one or two of his shows. I'm not a fan. Nothing against him. I've just never watched him. Actually, I've never watched any late night, but just not a fan. But what I am a fan of is freedom of speech. And I think we need, as the American people, to send a message that we won't tolerate freedom of speech. And if that's voting with our money by canceling subscriptions, canceling trips to Disney, canceling ESPN, canceling Hulu, canceling Trump, whatever we need to do, we need to make it happen and send a message. I think they received our message, but keep going.
Here's the irony. Disney has always been a master of illusions. They can make castles appear larger than life. They can turn fireworks into storytelling.
Yeah, so he's referring to the fact that everything at the these castles, the main street, the square, all of it is actually not life size. It's an optical illusion. It's really sad too, because Walt Disney was brilliant. He was brilliant. And the whole reason he came up with the idea for Disneyland was not only did he have a brilliant marketing mind of cross-marketing, but he, like I said, his studios were up in the Atwater Village area, or Highland, like somewhere around there, which is where like Dodger Stadium is up there, and this would have predated them actually cementing off the LA River, and having footbridges across it. So like if you wanted to go to Griffith Park, you would have had to like cross the river, which most of the time is dry because we are a desert state. But he got the idea because there is a carousel in Griffith Park that he brought his kids to, and he was sitting on a park bench watching them enjoy being on the carousel. I've been to it many, many times in my lifetime because as a child I lived up in that area too. And one of the horses from that carousel is preserved at the president's exhibit that they have set up in the Main Street USA. It is they have one of the horses from the carousel in there. So there are little pieces of history that ring true for us about why Disney is so special and how he did such a great job of not only pushing the limits on where we could go with our imagination, but taking it further, right? And it seems like pretty much every CEO we have had since really has made poor decisions. They only had a major resurgence when I think it was The Little Mermaid was the first movie that started bringing them back, and then they had Beauty and the Beast. But by the time they released Pocahontas, there was a lot of criticism that it started going downhill from there. And a lot of the movies they've released since, because some of these movies they had drawn not only for kids but for adults who experienced Disney as a child. And that's where they fucked up, is that they started, they're too concerned with political pressure. They're not, using their artistic freedom anymore, and they want to own pretty much everything, which is why they have Marvel now, right? They're getting too big for their britches, and they're charging too much.
Can even make you believe for one day that you're living in a fantasy world. But no amount of stagecraft can hide empty turnstiles. The illusion cracks when Main Street feels like a ghost town. The fantasy falls apart when tourists are boycotting en masse, and the symbolism is brutal. Disney built its empire on fairy tales where heroes stood up against villains, where courage was rewarded, and where the kingdom always found hope. But in the real world...
Which, by the way, Disneyland is not that far from Knott's Berry Farm, which has existed much longer than Disneyland, right? But Knott's Berry Farm was pushed to build a similar park model when it used to just be the ghost town and the chicken dinner restaurant.
The kingdom folded. It caved under pressure, silenced a voice, and revealed weakness. And now the villagers, the paying public, are storming out with their wallets closed.
What can you expect from DSO1 in your first 9
closed? So where does this leave Disney? In a nightmare scenario. A brand once seen as untouchable is suddenly vulnerable. Theme parks, once their golden goose, are now the loudest evidence of cultural collapse. And here's the kicker. The boycott has outgrown Jimmy Kimmel. It doesn't matter that he's back on air. The empty parks prove the movement is bigger than one host. This is now about principle, about trust, about whether people still believe in Disney's myth.
If we, the people, don't do anything about it, that means that it's a wrap. You know, this Jimmy Kimmel situation is huge. I think about it because a lot of people are actually taking a stance. People are canceling their Disney, Hulu Plus packages, Disney cruises, and trips to Disney, because it wasn't necessarily ABC that canceled the Jimmy Kimmel Show. It was the owner of ABC, which is Disney, and maybe even more specifically the CEO of Disney. But it's bigger. It's bigger than just because the FCC people didn't like what Kimmel said. It's because Disney wants to purchase other companies. They already own everything, right? But they want to own some more. But they need approval from the government in order to make these purchases. So that's why.
Well, and that's why it was such a bad decision for them to buy a network. Because if they are trying to go with one theme of we're making content for children, right? Parks, movies, etc., then why would you take on a network that appealed to adult humor, right? For example, I'm fairly certain that Modern Family aired on Disney that had all kinds of gay references. It had, just like all of these sexual references, and it was hilarious. I loved that show. I ultimately had to stop watching because I got involved in some other things, but like I loved the first few years that I was watching it. But you cannot cross-pollinate that much and expect that you're going to retain the image of what Disney was trying to do. There have been so many CEOs that stepped in and made massive mistakes with this company. And like I said, as far as I can tell, it started in the 70s when their films started doing really badly.
They decided to go ahead and cancel Kimmel because the FCC and the government didn't like what he said. But see, that now is going against our freedom of speech. And if we, the people, don't do anything about it, that means that it's a wrap. Are you canceling your Hulu packages? Are you canceling ESPN? Are you canceling your ABC subscription? I know I am. I'm canceling Disney. I'm canceling Hulu. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right?
But the real fallout isn't just inside the parks. It's outside their walls. Disney has always been a magnet for local economies. Entire towns thrive on the tourism orbit around Disneyland and Disney World. Hotels, restaurants, mom and pop shops, even Uber drivers and balloon vendors count on the flood of visitors that Disney brings. When that flood slows to a trickle, it's not just Disney that hurts.
Soft, fresh, and hot right out of
it hurts. It's everyone downstream. Orlando waiters are losing shifts. Anaheim hotel clerks are standing idle. Merch suppliers are scaling back orders. The ripple effects of this boycott stretch far beyond Main Street, right into communities that have long banked on the mouse's gravitational pull. And then there's the cultural shock. For generations, a Disney trip was seen as a rite of passage. Parents saved for years to take their kids to see Mickey, to ride Space Mountain, to watch fireworks light up Cinderella's castle. Those photos ended up in family albums, in scrapbooks, on Christmas cards. It was a shared American ritual. But now, families are openly saying, we're done. Not just delaying, not just rescheduling. Done. That kind of severed tradition doesn't come back easily, and it cuts deeper than any quarterly earnings report.
There's a phrase in acting that kind of represents this. It's called breaking the fourth wall. You're supposed to be creating this illusion, this production for people to watch. And when you break the fourth wall, you create more of a direct connection of reality with your audience. And they have unintentionally broken the fourth wall. It was a mistake for them to buy ABC. They should have never tried to buy a network. And for what? What sort of Disney programming is on the ABC channel? I mean, what are they putting on ABC that actually aligns with everything else that they're trying to do? But they've also gotten too greedy. They've gotten way too greedy, and they don't respect the people who spend all this money and keep them afloat.
Globally, the damage may be even worse. Disney has built its reputation as America's cultural export. The company doesn't just sell movies and rides. It sells the idea of American magic. But when the boycott headlines go global, Disney caves, Disney humiliated, Disney boycotted, that brand image corrodes. It tells the world that the magic is cracking, that the kingdom isn't stable, that the empire isn't invincible. And once the world stops believing, those Tokyo, Paris, and Shanghai parks look a little less timeless and a little more tarnished. Even inside Disney's workforce, the mood is shifting. Cast members used to beam with that famous Disney smile, proud to be part of the story. Now, whispers float through break rooms. Are the layoffs coming? Do you think the boycott will end? When your employees start doubting the company's future, it creates an invisible rot. The magic feels forced, the performances ring hollow, and the entire experience loses authenticity. And here's the cruel irony. Disney's parks rely more on emotion than on rides. Guests can forgive a broken roller coaster. They don't forgive a broken atmosphere. And let's talk myth. Disney isn't like any other company. Apple sells gadgets. Nike sells sneakers. But Disney sells belief. Belief in courage, in wonder, in heroes who do the right thing. That's what made the parks sacred. Every ticket wasn't just an entry fee, it was a down payment on the idea that magic still exists in the world. Now, that illusion is slipping.
So whether you had Spider-Man...
If you betray the story, if you show cowardice where people expected bravery, the spell shatters. And an empty castle isn't just a financial problem. It's a cultural wound. The financial markets are catching on too. Analysts are starting to warn that Disney's parks, once considered the safest bet in entertainment, may be losing their immunity. Attendance numbers drive not only ticket revenue, but food sales, merchandise, and hotel occupancy. If those drop, Wall Street starts asking...
Well, and don't forget that a lot of people who are trying to teach their children to invest in the stock market will buy Disney shares as one of their first investments, and they will gift their kids Disney shares. So how much has that affected the market? Are people selling off their Disney shares?
Uncomfortable questions. How much longer can Disney fund its movie studios and streaming wars if the cash cow is suddenly starving? Investors who once laughed at the idea of a Disney slump are now staring nervously at spreadsheets. Then there's the psychological impact. For decades, the parks thrived on a sense of FOMO, the fear of missing out. Everyone's going to Disney, so we have to go too. Now, the reverse is setting in. Families brag online not about going, but about canceling. TikToks go viral showing empty rides. Instagram feeds mock the emptiness. Suddenly, the social proof that Disney built its empire on is working against it. The boycott is contagious because silence is visible. An empty parade is a louder statement than any press release. And what about the kids? Generations grew up dreaming of Disney, their parents telling them stories of the first time they walked into the Magic Kingdom. But now, a new generation might grow up with a very different story. We didn't go because Disney lost its way. That generational shift is the real nightmare, because a lost childhood tradition doesn't just hurt today's profits, it rewrites tomorrow's loyalty. And Disney, more than any company, relies on generational loyalty. So here's the haunting question. Can Disney ever rebuild belief? Or is the boycott proof that once the spell breaks, it's gone for good? Because Americans are proving that once loyalty is lost, it never comes back.
So I'll put the link to this video. There's just a couple more things I want to include. Okay, so this is one of the scandals that was happening in Anaheim. My understanding is that there was some sort of account set up to receive money. And I apologize if my memory is failing me. But a lot of the seats on Anaheim City Council were overtaken by people who were trying to do deals. And Disney was on the list of those deals. So I'm going to go through this to the best of my memory.
Lynette, good morning. That's right. Harry Sidhu is now out because of this FBI investigation. His resignation officially takes effect today. Now, in response to all this, take a look. This is a statement from his attorney essentially saying nothing is final just yet. A fair and thorough investigation will prove that Mayor Harry Sidhu did not leak secret information in hopes of a later political campaign contribution. That leaked information is in reference to Angels Stadium. This is all according to the FBI probe, which alleges that Harry Sidhu fed insider information to Angels executives in the stadium deal. The FBI alleges that Sidhu was hoping to get $1 million campaign donation when he runs for re-election from the team. That never happened, and the FBI says the Angels were unaware of the scheme. The city of Anaheim has been in negotiations to sell the stadium and its surrounding property to the Angels owner Artie Moreno for $320 million. The Angels are said not to be implicated in this probe, but it does put the sale on hold. Now, also breaking here in Orange County over the weekend, longtime local leader Malahat Rafi announced that she too is resigning.
So let's talk about Malahat for a second here. To my memory of what happened here is that Malahat got caught for something else and became an FBI informant in this case. She has been a lobbyist. She has been a DNC member, and she has supported specific campaigns, had close relationships with specific campaigns, one of them being Farrakhan, who was Irvine mayor. So as far as I'm concerned, you have to be careful with anybody that you're voting for. You have to do your research, because really whatever party you're a part of or you vote for is not going to tell you straight up if that person is a good person or a bad person, right? And who they might be affiliated with.
The ongoing federal corruption investigation involving the city of Anaheim. Rafi served as the state representative for the Democratic National Committee and as the secretary for the California Democratic Party. According to court documents, Rafi was arrested in 2019 on attempted bribery charges. Now, Rafi told the media recently she did not want the controversy from this case to overshadow the work she is doing, and that is why she resigned. Now, back out here live, the city of Anaheim, the city council rather, will be meeting today at 5 o'clock for their regular scheduled meeting. Of course, one of the topics on the agenda today, new leadership for the city of Anaheim and the Angels Stadium sale. That's the very latest. I'm Lena Bowman reporting live here in downtown Anaheim. I'll send it back to the studio.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys, but there's been corruption everywhere. You have to, every business that you want to do business with. You're going to have to look at and figure out, are they showing you the type of credibility and morals that you would like to see in a company? For example, the Sinclair Group, do you really want them to have a monopoly over local news? I'm not sure if this is the right clip or not, but it's not that long, so let's go through it.
Hi, I'm Fox and Antonio's Jessica Headley. Wolf. Dallas journalism and CBC News producers. Sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. Overwhelming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first. The sharing of biased and false news is extremely dangerous to our democracy. Extremely dangerous to our democracy. It's extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
It's extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Well, it sure is.
At Ralph's, you never compromise. You get up high quality.
It sure is, you guys. It's extremely dangerous to our democracy. So anyhow, I can't, you guys. This is what America is becoming. This is why we have anti-monopoly law in place. And seems like if you just, pay enough money in donations, like, you can do whatever you want, you guys. Anyhow, that is Thursday's story from me. Take care.